This is the third video I'm making about this episode. Thank you so much for all the love given to the previous two, by the way. As much as I love the animation itself, I don't even think it's the best raw episode of the season, but neither do I think my reaction vid did it enough justice, so we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna break down the animation itself, without focusing on analyzing section too much, as unfortunately is what I think drags the episode down in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, they do work as character summaries for the overall stories and power sets, and I get it. The joke is that they're allegedly reading a 2013 script, that's why it all feels so outdated and corny, but like, at a certain point it feels like they're referencing a version of the show that exists only in their minds at best, or using this gimmick as an excuse to be unfunny at worst. You know what manages to perfectly capture the vibe we was going for though? The fight itself. Just the starting first-person view of the pilot in the helicopter flying to the ruined city before it all spirals into chaos. That alone gave me major starting video game cutscene vibes, of course specifically on the more prototype side of things, given the focus on helicopters and military forces everywhere. And it's not just in the scene alone, which shows that there's an active world going on in the background as these two superhero-esque characters jump from roof to roof. On that topic, you know what I really like? Spider-Man, and he's referenced a lot throughout this episode. And you might be interested to know why. On top of Cole and Alex being on opposite ends of the great power, great responsibility spectrum, there's also the fact that Infamous as a game was inspired by the Swintastic Spider-Man 2 video game from 2004, and Prototype was meant to be a Web of Shadows sequel, where players will have played as Venom, making the symbiote analogies made with Alex very truthful in nature. These two having to thank Spider-Man for their existence is just another proof that the colossal web of success the World Crawler has had all over the world, with one of its biggest representatives in that legacy being the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, a series of films that came from a time where superhero films were just more edgy, raw, and they just had a specific vibe to them. The orange lighting present throughout the whole animation, the fight carrying from location to location, down to the villain making a "we can work together" speech, all giving major Raimi Spider-Man vibes. And you can extend that to this fight being sort of a love letter to that era of comic book films as a whole, especially considering the dirty mounted anti-hero with a one-liner that honestly could work only with a perfect delivery that, or the early 2000s Eminem/Linkin Park vibe brought by the musical track Inhuman. That's without getting to this very matchup being pretty much an embodiment of the phrase "you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain." Funnily enough. The highlights of the fight including transformation, heroic second winds accompanied by triumphant music, and amazing verbal clapbacks also gave me major anime vibes, though I'm not entirely sure how intended that was. But since this is a fight and not a lo-fi livestream, it's not just the vibes that are there, it's the whole shebang brought by the amazing animation, camera work, effects, and choreography. Sure, there are things like the helicopter disappearing once it's no longer relevant, the initial stuffiness, or Cole thinking about when Infamous 3 will come out while Alex is charging at him. And while small touches like that make me rank the episode slightly a bit lower than fights whose attention to detail did go to that level, I just don't think they're significant enough for me to bring the whole thing down. The fight proper starts with Cole rescuing the people in the helicopter from becoming Alex Kanaiki's next lunch, followed by a very nasty back and forth to their powers, with Cole grinding on Alex's devastating tendrils and channeling a blast so potent that the latter is forced to block it with his biomass shield. The different approaches to parkour are also conveyed brilliantly, as Cole is shown carefully scaling a building while Alex power rounds through on it, leading to a fast-paced clash where they matched each other nearly blow for blow. Another very interesting contrast between the two is that despite Cole being a college dropout and Alex having the memories of a scientist and everyone is ever absorbed, they fight in completely different ways from what you expect, with Alex pretty much being in attack, hold up, let me change form so I can attack mode the whole time, and Cole being much more precise and strategic, which is shown by Alex's reliance on brute natural weapons and Cole's more long-range approach plus uses of a tool specifically made to challenge his powers. Or like in this scene right here where Cole is sent flying, finds a way to immobilize its opponent so that he has a frozen target once he horizontally ice jump towards Alex for a gnarly "you spin me right round." I find it really interesting how they went with the default Cole model. Instead of his good karma self, he becomes in canon and they are using the power of in battle. But I can't deny how cool it is to see normal Cole use his ice powers and technically delivering the killing blow by using Bio Leech, an evil karma power, which I also brought up in my reaction. But this perfectly captures a specific aspect of Cole, As much as Cole at his very core is undeniably a good person, at least canonically, he's more on the jerk with an out of gold side of things. Even at his best, Cole can be easily irritated, grumpy, and will pulverize his enemies if given the chance. He's not a knight in shine armor or a Superman type character, let's say he's more on a greyish-white side of things. And he recognizes how the world around him isn't perfect either, but he can still do his best to stop people that want to make it worse. Which brings us to Angry Virus Boy. Despite fighting for humanity in the first game, by the second game he basically devolved into an almost Albert Wesker-esque type of villain, the type that loves tentacle-inducing and humanity-ending viruses almost as much as the sound of their own monologues. Also, whether it's Prototype 1 or 2, Alex in general can be pretty freaking scary, and the battle manages to capture both his zany and scary sides perfectly. Laughing like a madman as he gets over here towards Cole, or regenerating using the bodies of survivors found in a very atmospheric office, entering his evolved state, calling himself a nightmare beyond anything Cole has ever seen. Just great character work on both. Side note, I wouldn't necessarily think Cole will be as openly disgusted at his opponent's action as much as he portrayed to be in this animation, as his character in both games is rather straight to the point, but I can totally see someone like Alex being far too much even for Cole's usual standards, or patience really. Fun fact, what in my reaction I called when in doubt freeze everything, is actually Cole activating an ionic freeze, a move that in-game harms only enemies and not the civilians, showing how Cole takes a level of careful collateral damage that his opponent definitely doesn't. Cole air parkours overthrown helicopters, again beautifully conveying his agility and speed, but instead of playing Super Truck, he decides to go all Ninjago on Alex with his ionic vortex. Alex hitches a ride on the nearest flying truck as he crawls around it for a surprise attack, pouncing on him, whoop. Alex tries to convince Cole into joining his mankind usurping plan, like he did with James Seller in Prototype 2. Calling the people Cole swore to protect vermins, to which Cole retorts in the following scene.
The only vermin I see here is you!
Cole replies by rejecting Alex's offer and insult him in the same sentence. The camera panning to the radio tower, the music swelling in as Cole recharges himself and brings out the gigawatt blades in a very common-gated fashion. I don't care if it is like the 5th or 7th time I said this season, but this scene right here was hype incarnate for me. Even in my reaction you could tell how giddy I was even with the busted mic. Alex's face right after, while kinda funny in his consternation, I like to think actually conveys a level of fear in the face of the opponent he's up against. You might even call it an expression of shock. Whatever emotion it was strong enough for the Blacklight virus to unleash his armor, with some powerful yet subtle sound design, and giving this fight a David vs Goliath vibe as Cole keeps his precise hits going against the behemoth. So Alex leaps toward the air with Cole and stabs the prime conduit, laughing as he decides that if he cannot have Cole's power on his side, then he'll take it. Except...
Good idea.
Cole gets another triumphant second wind with a Sharingan sounding electric awakening, as uses a combo of no less than 3 powers to end the fight. First, Karmic Overload to turn the tables on Alex's infection. Second, Bio-Leech to absorb Alex's bioelectricity, giving him some literal karma, giving Alex penchant for absorbing people, and the Thunder Drop to pummel Alex into near nothingness. Mind you, this move in the game gets more powerful the more airtime Cole gets, meaning that technically Alex screwed himself twice here. First by giving Cole airtime, and second by giving him the idea of absorbing power. Cole emerges from the smoke unarmed, recreating this panel from the game and recognizing the imperfections of the world his opponent allegedly set out to make better. But the only adjustment Cole was concerned with is saving everyone the city from the likes of Alex, which he succeeded. If I must praise that battle matchups have a lot of mirror connection, and these two are placed strictly as hero versus villain, well, what were the connection here? Is it just the fact that there are similar games that were popular in the same time frame? I'm not really one for matchups whose premise is basically, come on, it's this versus that, with very little connection outside of popularity, and thankfully this matchup is not that. They're both non-costumed, super powered, snarky, parkour-roving and morally conflicted one-man armies, whom started out as normal people with normal professions before acquiring superhuman status after a traumatic event kickstarted by an alternate version of themselves. However, that is where the similarities end, because they're on wholly different power sets, because besides the common link of absorbing stuff to make stuff, and canonical morality once the second game drops, with Cole becoming a superhero leader saint by sacrificing himself to save humanity, and Alex becoming a supervillain so fed up with humanity he literally wants to remold it in his own image. Despite both starting out as not so different anti-heroes, Alex embodies everything Cole would have become had he went down the darker path and decided that the flaws of humanity were enough to justify not saving it. A protector turned an enemy of mankind, wanting to suppress it in the name of a superior species. Exactly like Evil Cole in Infamous 2. So yes, this episode is indeed a hero vs villain themed episode, and much like the others before it, the fight was about the former defending the city from the latter, and let's just say that it usually doesn't end with a happy ending. But it's not the case here, as the hero manages to successfully live, defeat the bad guy, and save everyone, which not only amplifies just how superhero-y this whole episode felt, I'd say even more than episodes featuring actual costume superheroes, but it's basically Cole triumphing over what it could have become in another lifetime, someone evil, merciless, and downright infamous.